morning, friends. Thanks for joining here this morning with Journey Home Meditation for the morning sit. We're going to be sharing some space, doing a little breathing together, some contemplating ideas, feelings, and maybe we'll read some poems and do a little meditation practice. And I'm Michael, and I'm happy to be here. Well, things are going to be changing the way it looks around here pretty soon. And we'll get into that in just a minute, but I'd just like to invite the bell in first and have a few quiet moments. Take some breaths to bring our awareness inward. Breathing in. And breathing out. Breathing in. And breathing out. Breathing in. Yeah, it's good to be here this morning. I am here about an hour later than I would usually like to be here, starting this morning practice with everyone, but that's okay. I have been working pretty long days this week trying to prepare the space for the open house that Journey Home is having. So Journey Home Meditation is one aspect of a larger project. Actually, the project grew out of Journey Home Meditation, sort of. It was like we had these two entities in our lives that were receiving our attention. We had Crossroads Community Death Care that Angela and I sort of were bringing end-of-life doula work, death midwifery, home funerals, those kind of things, and a lot of just presence with death and grieving practices to our valley here. And then I had Journey Home Meditation on this other side where I was attempting to integrate my practices into a public practice in the hopes or the plans of creating a small community of people who share in similar practices and can share where we are on our paths and learn from one another. It's been difficult to do that because I started during COVID, so it's all been mostly online. But here we are, 4 years later now, something like that. And the combination of those two energetic forces of ours came with Angela doing work for a mental health organization that combined some of the elements that we were looking at. And then I went into working for that same organization, offering peer support services for people in recovery from substance use disorders. So then in my life, all of those elements came together. They all gelled. The recovery aspect, the death and dying aspect, and the meditation practice were all the same. It was all one for me. And that's where Journey Home was birthed from. So Journey Home Support Services is this office you see behind me. We are getting ready to expand, And that expansion is opening a space that we are calling beside. And it's beside us in the next room over. And it is a meditation hall. So this morning sit is going to be looking different. And we're going to have to work out how that's going to be. But I'm excited for that shift. And that'll begin tomorrow morning with the test run. Um, so all that is to say that there are new things moving through uh, for this practice for us here at Journey Home, and I'm excited to invite you into that. If you happen to live or are traveling through Southern Oregon in the Illinois River Valley, you are welcome to come in and join us live in person. Um, Pretty much anytime somebody's here, but the meditations will be occurring in the mornings. So long as I remember my keys. This is the reason we started later. I absentmindedly did not replace the keys where they are supposed to live and took them home in my pants pocket and then uh, put on different pants today and came to work. This is the greatest argument for only having one pair of pants and wearing them every day. uh, but it's okay. Here we are. And I got to drive by um, a few sort of markers in my morning that reminded me of what it is I think that my attention wants to go towards in our contemplative practice this morning. I spoke the other day about having my first morning glance at the cherry blossoms outside of my tree, outside of my window, on the tree. It's not my tree. It's not even my window. It's just a window that I live on one side of and the world lives on the other. Uh, so it's not really mine. But through this window, I was able to gaze upon the cherry tree in the yard that I just had recognized the cherry blossoms were coming into full effect. And they were starting to bloom and open just a bit. And it was a stark moment of realization like, wow, it just felt like it happened in a moment. A moment ago it was snow and cold and winter. And then in a moment, in just a few breaths, a few conscious breaths, and all of a sudden there it is. It's spring. The sun is rising earlier, and the cherry blossoms are responding to that call as the sun is more present in the sky. They start to be coaxed out. So it made me think about when we return our awareness to something, it may not be the same that it was before. And we may have this long held conception of what that thing is, right? Our perception at the time may have given us a certain idea about something. And then we bring our awareness to it after some time has passed and it's different. Because I looked out this morning and I saw that the blossoms were doubled in size at least, fully filling the ends of the branches in these bright white satellites. It was like they were reflecting any light that it could grab from the world. It was being grabbed by those bright white cherry blossoms and shooting back out. It was almost like the tree was glowing. And I thought, well, that's different. It was just 2 days ago that they were just coming on. And I thought it was magnificent enough then, but this is quite a show, quite a display. And I thought about it for a bit. I sat on it. I meditated on it like, wow. And I see the same with my children who are no longer children. Um, they're grown. And there's moments where it feels like I'm picking them up onto my shoulders one moment, and then the next, they're picking me up at the airport. you know, uh, and it's not that I have necessarily an attachment to that small being that I picked up and put on my shoulders that I don't want to be with this person in front of me, but it is a reminder that if I live in that nostalgia, wishing that something were, or live in that belief, wishing that something were not, if I hold on to that too much, when I come back to it, I don't allow for it to be what it is. Right? I live in a level of disbelief, and that includes my internal landscape. I may not be in the same place that I was last time I visited that level of awareness. I was aware of something a few days ago, and then now I bring my awareness back thinking, okay, we're going to work on this, and it's shifted. There's been a shift. Something that might be stressful or fearful, something that incites fear, uh, with an with the allowance for things to be dynamic, and with the understanding that everything is temporary. When we revisit with our awareness something that we believe is one thing, it may very well look very different, mostly because we are very different, but also because we are not the center of the universe. The universe is at the center of us, right? I hope that makes sense what I'm communicating, is that we live, all of us, everything, as an expression of spirit. That's it. So we get so tempted to look back with nostalgia and talk about with deep sadness how it's not like it used to be. And there's grief there. And grief, the response to grief is grieving. We grieve together. We come together and we hold that space, not to be talked out of our feelings, but to be witnessed having them. And I think it's really important to remember again the difference between event and a practice. When I find myself practicing, I'm repeating something over and over. I've been learning some Counting Crows songs on guitar and singing terribly. I'm positive of this, and there's no amount of "no, you sound fine" that's going to convince me. But I don't care that I'm singing terribly. It doesn't bother me because I love these songs and I love the way the songs make me feel. And I'm not performing. It's like yesterday's poem from Marie Sharon. I did not bloom to be seen. I bloomed because it was time. So I practice these songs not to be heard, but because it's time. But in practicing them, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. And each time I'm getting a little bit more, um, I want to say affluent, but I don't know if that's the right use of that word in this context. Um, I'm flowing more and I have a richness. Each time I get a little bit more agency and I feel more at ease with the song. So in that comfort, I'm able to relax and really express and emote more. And so I'm getting better at it because I practice with repetition. Now, when it comes to venting our frustrations, right? We have to remember that event releases. And if we are repeating the same story over and over again, we are not actually feeling release. We're practicing. And so when we're talking about the way that we can bring our awareness back to something and allow for it to be different, the practice that you've had of the negative self-talk or the doom and gloom story, the narrative of failure or the narrative of anger and resentment that you may be carrying even subconsciously, it might come into play. And you have to recognize that this is your story and this is this experience. They don't have to be the same. You can let your story change with your new experience. All of that from looking at a cherry blossom tree, just a few minutes. And I was sitting at my typewriter, and I wanted to get this down in a poem, but words weren't coming. And I thought, That's okay. I don't really need to make this into a poem right now. That'll come when it comes. Um, but yeah, I'm going to share a poem. I was introduced to this wonderful poet named Jan Zwicky. Pardon me. Okay. Sorry, I had to mute there because I didn't realize that my office answering machine was set on speaker mode and I could not let anyone else hear a message that somebody was leaving. One of those mornings. But I sat there at the typewriter and I just had a feeling, but I wasn't placing words to it yet. And I thought, it's okay. I'm gonna stand up and I'm gonna move my body, and words will come. And then I picked up this book that I sought out by Jan Zwicky after being recommended by my friend Dot um, to read Jan Zwicky. So I was able to find this book, Robinson's Crossing by Jan Zwicky, Janzwicky. And I found this poem when I got to the office today, an hour later than I planned. It's called Music's Breath. Sorrow, I raise my hands to you. So little we understand. I was idling there among the carved woods and the scented boxes, and I know that it was love saw me. But when it spoke, it was your voice that said my name. What a wonderful piece. Music's Breath. I want to read it one more time. It's a shorter piece, so I could read it here again. Sorrow, I raise my hands to you. So little we understand. I was idling there among the carved woods and the scented boxes, and I know that it was love saw me. But when it spoke, it was your voice that said my name. Hmm. We are not unilateral beings, and we have this ability to carry our connections and our connotations and our context in all of these wonderfully woven ways, right? Picture your hands weaving your fingers together, and you can see that there's all of this different directions going, but they come together to create this container, and that's how it is in our bodies. The poet knows that it was love that they were hearing, but sorrow was the voice. And we have these depths. Have you ever been swimming in a river, maybe, or like a spring pond on a mountain? And as you're swimming through, you may find these deliciously warm spots that have been, kissed by the sun, and you're just, oh, it's heaven. You're in the mountains. You're naked. You're floating in the spring pond, and there's just, yeah, you're in bliss. And then as you move through, all of a sudden you're floating around, and then you hit this really cold spot where the spring is shooting that ice cold water into the pond, and it hits you right from behind, and you're just like, wow, it's such a shock. Um, it's the same water, it's the same pond. And it's actually that cold water that's filling this pond with its life-giving capabilities, right? This is what makes up the bulk of the water. Like this is its source. but it's jarring and it's shocking, and it's not necessarily what you were feeling in the one moment. And then seemingly out of nowhere, you find this other thing, and it's just as life affirming, but completely different. But you're swimming in the same water, swimming in the same waters. I'm looking out of my window and I'm seeing the same cherry tree, but I'm seeing a different expression. It's myself that is holding on to expectations for something to be what I think it should be now or what I thought it was. And it's up to myself to let that expectation not drive my perception and just allow things to show themselves to me. And in doing that, I'm allowing myself to see myself. Let's place our feet flat to the floor. If you're seated as I am, or have your legs crossed in any number of positions. The practice right now is moving into our meditation posture. And our meditation posture is simply that place in which we are finding balance in our body, in our mind body, in our emotional body. And we're inviting in awareness of spirit with each breath. Lengthening the spine, bringing the shoulders together just slightly in the back. Breathing in through the nose gently to the bottom of the belly. And release. As your breath brings you into that deeper opening of consciousness, really feel in your body where the breath is moving. Your lungs expand in all directions. Feel what the breath is in the middle of your back. Feel the slight shift in your ribs with each in-breath and out-breath, expanding as you breathe in and contracting as you release. There are places there that we can go through, we can get into. Um, Such invitation, such welcoming. I spent a lot of my life not feeling welcomed by my body, and that my body was not being welcomed by my thoughts. And I think that that's not uncommon. The more I talk to people, the more I hear how, in a world that's sort of functioning on superficialities, right, the surface level of existence, not speaking about this pejoratively or diminishingly, uh, but when that is the level to which we exist, we become kind of stuck in our perceptions just right here in our head. And when we're prescribed what is pleasurable, what is desirable, what is a sign of health, what is a sign of proper aging, all of these things, um, we can become wrapped up in the idea of who we are. And then we formulate those beliefs very young. And it takes some willingness to go into that, to let that go. You have to have will in some level, but you don't have to be a hero, um, because it really is like pouring a cup of tea, you know. Um, I was working with a person once, and his chief complaint about himself, of which he had many, as many of us do, his chief complaint was that I don't feel like I'm open enough. I'm very closed, and I don't feel that I'm open enough. And I was having a pot of tea at the time, and so I had a really handy metaphor right in my hands, and I have it right here. Oh, hey, look at that. A pot of tea. Where'd that come from? Metaphor time. So I was showing this person, I have a quart of tea here. There's a quart. This holds a little over a quart, but right now there's about a quart of tea in there. And all I have is this little tiny opening right here, right? I could take the lid off and I have this larger opening, but it would make quite a mess if I tried to fill my cup from this larger opening. So I've got this small opening, but it's plenty enough to serve its purpose, right? And as that tea comes out, all I have is a cup of this size. That's it. So if I opened the large opening, it would overwhelm my ability, my capacity to carry what I'm letting out right now. But if I use that small opening and I fill this cup just to the level that I need it, then it's manageable. It's manageable today. So the opening doesn't matter on the size. It matters how manageable you can take what you're letting go. Because when we're letting go, and this is something I learned, like many people did, from Marie Kondo, when she had her Netflix show on tidying up. I don't recall what the name of the show was. It may have been Tidying Up, but she has a few books on the art of tidying up. Marie Kondo says that when we are letting something go, it's not just a matter of letting it go, but we take a moment with it and we show our appreciation for it, even if it's something we never want to use again. And we take that space and we say, hey, thank you for serving me. So if you're finding these emotions in your body that you want to release, these resentments, these angers, these preconceived notions and fears, you can hold it in that little teacup that you released from that little tiny crack that you opened up. And you can process with it and you can say, thank you. My resentment towards this person maybe protected me from reacting to them and causing more harm on what was already a harmful situation. So I didn't because I had resentments and I had anger, but I don't need those anymore. I've learned how that I don't need to react violently to protect myself in this moment. So I'm not going to cause more harm because of the harm that was done to me. So thank you for being there to protect me from causing more harm. And I want to let you go. And as we do, we let that go, the chances of us not actually feeling the desire to cause that harm to that person diminishes. And it may even just go away. This is the art of vent. You vent it out, you let it go. This is not practicing resentment, this is venting it. And this is how we change our perception from day to day based on our awareness. It's really simple stuff, really. It's not easy. It's really simple work. So, with that, it's almost 10 a.m. I do have commitments and things that I would like to be putting my energy towards today outside of this commitment and obligation. So, thank you for being here this morning. Hariom.